In this lecture, we will examine the largest organ in the body, called skin. And not only that, we're going to look at the whole integumentary system. What is integumentary system? Well, integumentary system consists of skin, sweat glands, oil glands, sense receptors, accessory structures such as hair and nails. But remember, keep it in mind, the main organ in this system is the skin. Human skin accounts for about 7% of total body weight in an adult individual. Another word for the skin is integument, which means covering. Without skin, people's muscles, bones, and organs would be hanging out all over the place. Skins hold everything together. But it is not just a bag for human content. It is a multifunctional organ. It also protects our bodies. Thus, the skin protects us from mechanical, physical, and chemical damages. It protects our body from viral, bacterial, and fungal invasions. It produces a precursor to vitamin D. By the way, what is the function of vitamin D? Vitamin D helps the body absorb and retain calcium and phosphorus. Both are critical in building bones. Recent study shows that vitamin D can reduce cancer cell growth, help control infections, and reduce inflammation. Our skin is the site of nerve endings, which provide sensory function to our body. Our skin keeps our body just at right temperature. It keeps body's homeostasis. In other words, it helps body to stay healthy. Look down at your hands for a minute. Even though you cannot see anything happening, your epidermis is hard at work. At the bottom of the epidermis, new skin cells are forming. Dead cells constantly flake off the skin surface. When the cells are ready, they start moving up towards the top of your epidermis. This step takes about 2 weeks to a month. As newer cells continue to move up, older cells near the top die and rise to the surface of your skin. What you see on your hands and everywhere else in your body are really dead skin cells. 90% of dust consists of human skin flakes. Every minute of the day, we lose about 30,000 to 40,000 dead skin cells off the surface of our skin. That is almost 9 pounds of cells every year. They float around as a tiny white specks in the air, settling on the house surfaces and forming much of the house dust that accumulates there. Because we constantly lose skin cells, they must be continuously replaced. Most numerous skin cells called keratinocytes and produced deep in the epidermis by mitosis of stem cells in the stratum basale. Try to pronounce it. Keratinocytes. Keratinocytes. Word keratinocytes consists of two different words, keratin and cells. Keratinocytes produce keratin, a tough protective protein that makes up the majority of the structure of the skin, hair, nails, scales, horns, fur, hooves, feather, beaks, claws. Dust mites, close relatives of ticks and spiders, are too small to see without a microscope. Dust mites is skin cells shed by people. They thrive in warm and humid environments. In most homes, such items as bedding, upholstered furniture, and carpeting provide an ideal environment for the dust mites. They feed on flakes of shed human skin. When people say that they are allergic to dust, it is not so. People with allergies are allergic to the feces of the dust mites, not dust. By taking steps to reduce the number of dust mites in your home, you may get control of dust mite allergy. Medication or other treatments are sometimes necessary to relieve symptoms. Our skin is made up of 3 layers, each with its own important parts. The layer on the outside is called epidermis. Epidermis. Epi means outer, dermis means skin or leather. The epidermis is the part of your skin you can see, assuming it is intact. It has many important functions, including protecting your body from the outside world, keeping your skin hydrated, protecting new skin cells, and determining your skin color. Epidermis is non-sensitive and non-vascular layer of the skin of the humans and other vertebrates that overlies the dermis. In this sense, non-sensitive means the layer that does not contain sensory nerves. They are located just under the epidermis, but not in it. It is non-vascular, meaning the epidermis does not contain blood vessels. They are located just under the epidermis, not in it. The oxygen and nutrients has to diffuse from the underlying layer called dermis. Now let's draw a layer of epidermis. We will start with the innermost layer called stratum germinativum. In other words, for it is stratum basale, or basal layer, a cell factory layer. Let's begin to draw stratified layer of squamous, flat-like cells, keratinocytes. The bluish box you see in the inner layer called dermis. We will examine dermis just after learning about the epidermis. Let's start our drawing. Let's draw stratum basale. Stratum basale is made of single layer of cells, most of them called keratinocytes. Keratinocytes are primary cell type of epidermis. In humans, they make up 90% of epidermal skin cells. Let's not forget to put nuclei. And now we will put cells that undergo cell division in this layer. Remember that in the stratum basale we have very rapid cell division. Here is one cell undergoes cell division. I hope you remember that the cell division consists of two major cell division events. That is mitosis and cytokinesis. Here's another cell undergoing cell division. And another one. And one more. These cells undergo cell division all the time to help regenerate dead skin and producing a lot of keratin. Keratin is tough, waterproof material that provides cells in the outer layer of the skin with horny, abrasion-resistant, and protective quality. Stratum basale is the layer where we get our skin color from. This layer also produces melanocytes. These cells produce brown pigment called melanin. Melanocytes sit in this layer. It is interesting that what determines your skin color is not how many melanocytes sit in your skin, but how much melanin your melanocytes produce. The people with dark skin color and light skin color have the same amount of melanocytes. Always try to pronounce new words. So say melanocyte. Melano means dark colored or black. And cyte means cell. You know that already. The higher the concentration of melanin, the deeper is the color of skin. The amount of melanin in your skin depends first on certain skin color genes you have inherited. Heredity determines how dark or light your basic skin color is. However, the other factors such as sunlight can modify this heredity effect. Prolonged exposure to the sunlight darkens the exposure area because it leads to increased melanin deposits in the dermis. In light-skinned people, a change in color can occur if the volume of blood in the skin changes significantly or if the amount of oxygen in the blood is increased or decreased. In these individuals, increased blood flow to the skin or increased blood oxygen level can cause a pink flush to appear, as you can see from the portrait of the George Washington on this slide. However, if blood oxygen levels decrease or if actual blood flow is reduced dramatically, the skin turns bluish-gray color, a condition called cyanosis. Cyanosis. The word has a Greek origin. Cyano means blue. And the name cyanosis literally means the blue disease or the blue condition. In general, the less abundant the melanin deposits are in the skin, the more visible are changes in color that are caused by change in skin blood volume or oxygen. On the contrary, the richer the skin's pigmentation, the less noticeable such changes. People with dark skin pigmentation have skin naturally rich in melanin, which provides superior protection against the deleterious effects of UV radiation. This helps the body retain its folate reserves and protect against damage of skin DNA. This does not mean that people with dark skin have more melanin cells. This means that their melanin cells produce more melanin. However, dark-skinned people who live in the north are at the increased risk, especially in winter, of vitamin D deficiency. As a consequence, they are at the higher risk of developing rickets and possibly cardiovascular disease and low immune system activity. Tactile cells, also known as Merkel cells, relatively few in numbers, are receptors of the sense of touch. They are found in the basal layer of the epidermis and associated with underlying dermal nerve fiber. The tactile cells and its nerve fiber are collectively called Merkel disc. Above the stratum basale is stratum spinosum, meaning prickly layer. It is typically 5 to 10 cell layers thick. Stratum means layer. Spinosum means prickle. So the name is prickly layer. The keratinocytes in this layer have a little connections. This is what makes them look prickly. Keratinocytes adhere to each other by desmosomes. Desmosomes. Desmo means bond, connection, and somes means bodies. Desmosome is a structure by which two adjacent cells are attached, formed from protein plaques in the cell membranes linked by filaments. Deepest cells of the stratum spinosum remain capable of mitosis, but as they push further upward, they cease dividing. Instead, they produce more and more keratin filaments, which cause cells to flatten. Because of the desmosomes, the keratinocytes looks spiky or sometimes referred as prickly cells. Here we can find dendritic cells. They are cells of immune system. They ingest the foreign substances and activate the immune system. Next is stratum granulosum, a granular layer. The layer called stratum granulosum is because of the granules that it's in these cells, that inside of those cells. You do not see them on this diagram, but if you draw a layer, please put some dots in each cell to represent those granules. It consists of 3 to 5 layers of completely flattened keratinocytes, more in thick skin than in thin skin. The cells in this layer do not get enough nutrients and fill up with keratin as they die. They flatten when organelles disintegrate. This makes them makes them tougher and scalier, which allows them to better protect the layers underneath. Above the layer of stratum granulosum, there is a layer of completely dead, fully keratinized cells. Here, dead keratinocytes densely packed. The layer called stratum lucidum. This zone has pale, featureless appearance with indistinct cell boundaries. Say stratum lucidum. Stratum means layer, and you know this already. And lucidum means clear. Now we are getting to the outmost section. It consists of up to 30 layers of completely dead, anucleated, scaly, keratinized cells that form a durable surface layer. This layer is resistant to abrasion, penetration, and water loss. This layer of the dead cells protect inner layers from outside dangers. In this layer, dead cells are constantly flake off the skin surface. This layer called stratum corneum. Stratum corneum. As you already know, stratum means layer. Corno is an Italian word, means horn. Stratum corneum. So corno means horn. Literally, stratum corneum means horny layer. Question now. Why dead cells are constantly flake off the skin surface of stratum corneum? Is there a reason for this? Pause video if you have to think. You see, flaking off cells from the surface, skin surface, helps remove such invaders as viruses, bacteria, and fungi. So it is one of the ways our skin protects us from the foreign invaders. Fingernails and toenails are classified as accessory organs of the skin and are produced by cells of epidermis. To be exact, fingernails and toenails are clear, hard derivatives of the stratum corneum. They are formed when cells of the stratum corneum over the terminal ends of the fingers and toes fill with hard keratin and become hard and plate-like. They are composed of very thin, dead, scaly cells densely packed together and filled with parallel fibers of hard keratin. Most mammals have claws, whereas flat nails are one of the distinguishing characteristics of primates. The visible part of the nail called nail body. The rest of the nail, namely the root, lies in the groove and is hidden by a fold of skin called cuticle. Cuticle, from Latin cuticula, little skin. The nail body near the root has a crescent-shaped white area known as lunula. Lunula, from Latin luna, which means little moon. The nail bed is the skin beneath the nail plate. It is the area of the nail in which the nail plate rests. Nerves and blood vessels found here supply sensation and nourishment to the entire nail unit. Like all skin, it is made of two types of tissues, the dermis and the epidermis. The nail bed is highly innervated, and removal of the nail plate is excruciatingly painful. I just realized I left out something when I was making a drawing of an epidermis diagram, and that is nuclei of the keratinocytes. And let's color cells of stratum basale, since this layer is the cell factory. So here it is. Not all our skin has layer called stratum lucidum. In fact, only thick skin has it. That is palms of the hands and soles of the feet. So let's remove it from the diagram. This is how the epidermis of thin skin in our body looks like. Here is the dermis of thick skin. Let's label it. Thick skin and the skin. And everything in repetition. Let's label the layers together. Here is the layers that does not belong to the epidermis. It is dermis that we will look at in a few minutes from now. But I am mentioning it now because epidermis gets oxygen and nutrients from this layer. The innermost layer of epidermis is stratum basale. The basal cell layer is also known as stratum germinativum due to the fact that it is constantly germinating, or in other words, producing new cells. Pronounce it, stratum germinativum. By pronouncing the word, you can learn the new terminology. If you don't pronounce it, you will forget. So please speak out loud, stratum germinativum. Stratum means layer. Some of you perhaps already know that germ means a seed. So a seeding layer, stratum germinativum. And the next layer, stratum spinosum. Cells in this layer are joined with desmosomes. This layer also contains Langerhans cells that move around. They are the cells of immune system that are capable of destroying foreign invaders. The next layer is stratum granulosum. Keratinocytes migrating from underlying stratum spinosum becomes known as granular cells in this layer. Keratinohyaline granules primarily exist within the stratum granulosum, with some present in the stratum spinosum. These granules are insoluble in water and located within the cytoplasm, where they promote dehydration of the cell. Their chief function seems to be cross-linking keratin filaments, which creates a tight barrier that is the epidermis, providing the body with an impermeable layer that protects from invasion of foreign particles. And the next layer is stratum lucidum. Stratum lucidum is a thin clear layer of the dead skin cells in the epidermis, named for the translucent appearance under the microscope. It is readily visible by light microscopy only in the areas of the thick skin, which are found on the palms of the hands and the soles of the feet. Next layer is the stratum corneum. The stratum corneum is the outermost layer of the epidermis and marks the final stage of keratinocyte maturation and development. Keratinocytes at the basal layer of the epidermis are proliferative, and as the cells mature up the epidermis, they slowly lose proliferative potential and undergo programmed destruction. The stratum corneum consists of up to 30 layers of dead, scaly keratinized cells. These cells make skin resistant to abrasion, penetration, and water loss. Now, question to you: what are we here looking at? Desmosomes. That is the correct answer. Desmosomes are a type of anchoring junctions in human and animal tissues and connect adjacent cells. And what is this? Langerhans cells reside in the epidermis as a dense network of immune system sentinels. Dendritic cells, another word for Langerhans cells, are cells of immune system that originate in the bone marrow but migrate to the epidermis. Those cells protect skin against toxins and microbes by alerting the immune system so the body can defend itself. Also, they are macrophages. I hope you recognize those cells. The keratinocytes are the primary type of cells found in epidermis. Each keratinocyte is attached to each other by numerous structures called desmosomes, creating bridges from cell to cell. And what is this? You're looking at the Merkel cell. Merkel cells are very close to the nerve endings that receive the sensation of touch, and the Merkel cells involved in the sensation of touch. And yes, this is the sensory nerve endings near the skin surface that conduct signals to the spinal cord and the brain. What are this cell? Melanocyte. Melanocytes are melanin-producing cells located in the stratum basale. They produce pigment called melanin. Melanin is a pigment in your body that produces hair, eye, and skin pigmentation. Vitiligo occurs when melanocytes die or stop producing. This can result in discolored patches in different areas of the body, including the skin, hair, and mucous membranes. Why is this happening? We really do not know, but it has a genetic factor, so it does run in the families. Freckles are clusters of concentrated melanized cells which are most easily visible on people with fair complexion. Freckles do not have an increased number of melanocytes, but instead they have melanocytes that overproduce melanin granules, changing the coloration of the keratinocytes. The formation of freckles is triggered by exposure to sunlight. It activates melanocytes to increase even more melanin production, which can cause freckles to become darker and more visible. Freckles are predominantly found on the face, although they may appear on any skin exposed to the sun, such as arms or shoulders. Lentigo, plural lentiginous, is a small brown spot on the skin with a clearly defined edge, surrounded by the normal appearing skin. It is a harmless, benign hyperplasia of melanocytes. Hyperplasia is the enlargement of tissue caused by increase in the reproduction rate of its cells. Unlike the freckles, lentiginous do not fade in the winter months. Here you see a relatively rare condition called cutaneous horn. Cutaneous horn usually arises due to underlying epidermal lesion. Cutaneous horns are unusual keratinous skin tumors with the appearance of horns or sometimes of wood or corals. Often benign, they also can be malignant or premalignant. The cause of cutaneous horns is still unknown, but it is believed that exposure to radiation can trigger the condition. This is evidenced by a higher rate of cases occurring on the face and hands, areas that are often exposed to the sunlight. Other cases have reported cutaneous horns arising from burn scars. On these slides, we finish with epidermis. And now let's take a look at dermis, the layers underneath the epidermis. You cannot see your dermis because it is hidden under your epidermis. The dermis made with strong and flexible connective tissue, and it is full of nerve fiber and nerve endings associated with thermo and touch receptors. The nerve ending with receptors in your dermis tell you how things feel when you touch them. They work with your brain and nervous system so that the brain gets the message about what you are touching. Is it a soft fur of a cat or rough surface of a sandpaper? Sometimes what you feel is dangerous, so the nerve endings work with your muscle to keep you from getting hurt. If you touch something hot, the nerve endings in your dermis respond right away. Ouch, that's hot. The nerve quickly sends the message to the brain or spinal cord, which then immediately commands the muscle to take your hand away. This all happens in a split second without you even thinking about it. Dermis is vascular, meaning it contains blood vessels. It is full of tiny blood vessels. This keeps your skin cells healthy by bringing them the oxygen and nutrients they need and taking away the waste. These blood vessels are hard to see in kids and young people. But you might get a better look if you check out your grandparents' skin. As the dermis gets older, it gets thinner and easier to see through. Dermis contains sweat glands. These glands produce sweat, a watery fluid containing ions, some amounts of metabolic waste, and antimicrobial protein called dermicidin. Dermicidin. Derm means skin, cide means killer. Even though you cannot feel, you actually sweat a tiny bit all the time. Sweat is hypotonic filtrate of the blood that passes through the secretory cells of the sweat glands and is released by exocytosis, the process you are familiar with. We covered it in our earlier lectures. The sweat comes up through pores, tiny holes in the skin that allow it to escape. When the sebum meets sweat, they form a protective film that is a bit sticky. Dermis contains oil glands. They are located in the mid-dermis and almost always develop alongside a hair follicle with an outlet emptying into the follicular canal. The oil glands are also called sebaceous glands, and they always produce sebum. Sebaceous glands. Seb means tallow or grease. Aceous is a suffix that forms adjectives from nouns. Sebum is a grease or oil. Sebaceous glands are glands that produce oil. Sebum is your skin's own natural oil. It rises to the surface of your epidermis to keep your skin lubricated and protected. It also makes your skin waterproof. As long as sebum is on the scene, your skin won't absorb water and get soggy. In humans, sebaceous glands occur in the greatest number on the face and scalp, but also on all parts of the skin, except the palms of the hands and soles of the feet. Ironically, we go to great lengths to wash sebum from the skin, only to replace it with various skin cream and hand lotions made of little more than lanolin, which is sheep sebum. Lanolin. Lanolin. Lano means wool. Lanolin, another word, wool wax, or sheep sebum. Apocrine sweat glands occur in the groin, anal region, armpits, and in mature men in beard area. Apocrine sweat glands also an important part of the areola. Areola is a dark colored skin on the breast that surrounds the nipple. Apocrine sweat is thicker and more milky than merocrine gland sweat because it has more fatty acids in it. Apocrine glands are scent glands, and their secretions usually have an odor. Apocrine glands respond to stress and sexual stimulation. They do not develop until puberty. Apocrine sweat does not have disagreeable odor. Indeed, it is considered attractive or arousing in some cultures, where it is as much a part of courtship as artificial perfume to other people. The ceruminous glands in the skin of the human external auditory canal are modified apocrine glands, which together with sebaceous glands produce the cerumen, the earwax. Ceruminous glands. Ceruminous glands. Cera is wax in Latin, and min is small in Latin. Cerumen plays an important role in the protection of the ear canal against physical damage and microbial invasion. About 30 years ago, I woke up in the morning and realized I completely lost my hearing. I couldn't hear nothing. Terrified, I called my doctor asking for an immediate appointment. He arranged a quick meeting with the ear and nose specialist. Turned out that my ears were completely blocked with wall of the cerumen or earwax. It took not more than 5 minutes for ear and nose specialist to clean both ears. I was so relieved to get my sense of hearing back. This happens because I used Q-tips to clean my ears. Not a good idea. One should not use cotton tip swabs or Q-tips to clean the external canal because this often pushes cerumen further towards inner ear and causes irritation and does not clean the ear canal, but makes the condition worse by trapping the cerumen inside the ear. The trapped cerumen can trap moisture, cause temporary hearing loss, and predispose to otitis externa. Otitis externa is a condition that causes inflammation of the external ear canal, which is the tube between the outer ear and the eardrum. But how do I clean my ears? I asked the doctor. 3 drops of baby oil in each ear will do the job, doctor responded. And this is true. Usually ears have ability to clean themselves. There is a self-purification system that works just fine. However, sometimes the ears need some help. And in this case, the baby oil works just fine. The mammillary glands and breast are often mistakenly regarded as one and the same. Breasts, however, are present in both sexes, and even in females, they rarely contain more than small traces of mammillary glands. The mammillary glands, by contrast, are the milk-producing glands that develop within the female breast only during pregnancy and lactation. Like ceruminous glands, they are modified apocrine sweat glands. Mammillary glands produce a richer secretion and channel it through ducts to a nipple for more efficient conveyance to the offspring. Dermis also contains collagen and elastin, are proteins which are tough and stretchy. Collagen's main role to provide structure, strength, and support in your body. Collagen. Color means glue. Gens means to produce. Collagen is a fibrous protein found in cartilage, dermis of the skin, and other connective tissue. Elastin's main role is to provide stretchiness in your body, and it is approximately 1,000 times stretchier than collagen. Elastin. Elast means elastic plus in. Elastin is a protein similar to collagen found in connective tissue that has elastic properties. As we age, we produce less and less of these two proteins. Collagen becomes more rigid and elastin becomes weak. Think of that rubber band being stretched and released over and over again. As collagen and elastin break down, it results in sagging we see around the eyes, jawline, and neck. The dermis has two layers, papillary layer and reticular layer. In Latin, papilla literally means nipple. In this context, it means a small projecting body part similar to a nipple in form. The papillary layer is the top layer of your dermis. It is much thinner than the reticular dermis. It consists of collagen fibers, fibroblast cells, fat cells, blood vessels, nerve fibers, touch receptors, and cells that fight bacteria. You know their names. Phagocytes. Another feature of some parts of the papillary layer is dermal ridges, finger-like projections. These ridges cause ridges on the overlying epidermis called papillary ridges. Those ridges and the sweaty marks they leave are what we call fingerprints. Ridges begin to form on the human fetus during the 3rd and 4th months of the fetal development. Question: what are these papillary ridges for in our fingers? What is their function? The answer is the ridges increase friction for improved grasping. Another layer of the dermis is reticular layer, the thick bottom layer of the dermis. The reticular dermis has blood vessels and connective tissues that support the skin. Hair follicles, oil and sweat glands, and other structures are also found in the reticular dermis. Your dermis contains hair follicles, which produce hair all over your skin, except the palms of your hands and soles of your feet. All your body covered with hair. Even in the areas where you think you do not have them, hair is there. Take a magnification glass and you will see the hair. Did you ever wonder why sometimes you get goosebumps? Goosebumps are the results of tiny muscle flexing in the skin, making hair follicles rise up a bit. The name of the muscles, erector pili muscles. These muscles cause hair to stand up. Goosebumps are an involuntary reaction. Nerves from the sympathetic nervous system, the nerves that control the fight or flight response, control the skin muscles. For animals with thick fur, this response keeps them warm. Hairs stand up, a layer of air near the skin holding on to body heat. The raised hair follicles cause skin pores to close. You will see goosebumps most often when you are cold, but don't be surprised if they appear at other times. So other stimuli than cold may cause goosebumps. For instance, fear, pride, excitement. Hearing music or seeing art that is particularly moving or completely engrosses you, which is why you may say, it gave me chills. Sometimes capillaries, tiny blood vessels, can grow out of the dermis and become visible as bumps on the surface of the skin. This is called cherry angioma. Cherry angiomas are non-cancerous skin growths. In other words, they are benign tumors. They made up of clusters of capillaries at the surface of the skin. They look like a small bright red or dark red dome-shaped bumps on the skin. Cherry angioma can occur almost anywhere on the body, but usually develop on the trunk and arms. They are most common after age 30. The cause is unknown, but they tend to be inherited. They run in the families. These lesions generally do not require treatments. The best thing to do is to leave them alone. If you scratch them, you may bleed, and the scratch may cause infection. On the slide, you see cherry-colored cherry angiomas. Angi means vessel, and oma means tumor. A strawberry hemangioma is a clump of tiny blood vessels that form under the skin. It causes a raised red skin growth that may be present at birth or develop during infancy. A hemangioma looks like a strawberry birthmark, but is actually a benign non-cancerous tumor. You may also hear the term being used, vascular birthmark. Though it is called a birthmark, a strawberry nevus does not always appear at birth. The mark can appear when child several weeks old. It may grow quickly and then gradually fade. A port wine stain is a type of birthmark in which swollen blood vessels create a reddish, purplish discoloration of the skin. Port wine stains are always present at birth. In an infant, they are flat, pink vascular lesions. Common locations include face and neck, but they may be present anywhere on the body. Mikhail Gorbachev, last leader of the Soviet Union, had a prominent port wine stain on his forehead. The hypodermis is the bottom layer of the skin in your body. It has many important functions, including storing energy, connecting the dermis layer to your skin, to your muscles and bones, insulating your body and protecting your body from harm. As you age, your hypodermis decreases in size and your skin starts to sag. Most of the college textbooks states that hypodermis is not part of the skin. It is a layer of fat and connective tissue that helps to hold the skin to the tissue below. But some medical and clinical papers and books do consider it to be a part of the skin. And I agree with this, because besides helping attach the skin to the bones and muscle, it also provides the skin with nerves and blood supply. If we to exclude this layer from integumentary system, this important layer will stand on its own, since it is not considered to be part of any other body systems, like a complete orphan. Now let's list all the layers of the skin on the slide. We will start with the layers of epidermis. Stratum basale, stratum spinosum, stratum granulosum, stratum lucidum, stratum corneum, dermis, reticular layer, papillary layer, and hypodermis, one layer of hypodermis.